This audio recording is intended to facilitate the gradual release of confidential documents pertaining to a top-secret exchange program where 12 U.S. military personnel went to the planet Serpo, which is located in the Zeta Reticuli star system between the years 1965 and 1978. This is posting 9 by Anonymous. Each team member had to endure extreme psychological and physical training. In one training test, each team member was locked inside a 5x7 box buried 7 feet underground for 5 days with just food and water, no contact with anyone else, and in total darkness. This tested several factors. Each team member also took a pill with them. The pill was standard issue for intelligence agents operating behind enemy lines. The pill could end their life if, for some reason, the Ebens turned out to be hostile. Several selected team members, pilots, were trained on flying an Eben craft, one of which was the one captured near western New Mexico in 1949. The plan called for these selected few to fly the craft back to Earth in case of an emergency. There were 4 pilots on the team. These 4 spent many weeks at the Nevada complex learning to fly the recovered Eben alien craft. It wasn't hard to fly once one could understand the operations of the controls. I'm sure many of the UFO sightings back in 1964-65 around the West could be attributed to these test flights by our team members. Selected team members carried small containers of liquid nitrogen. Ebens were vulnerable to extreme cold. In case the Ebens turned hostile, the liquid nitrogen could be used to neutralize Ebens during an escape attempt. The team members were instructed to spray the substance directly into the face of an Eben. EBE-1 was found to be vulnerable to this. As for the liquid nitrogen matter, the liquid nitrogen was placed in a special container, just like we do today. The debriefing documents doesn't state the type of container, just that each member had a small container. However, during the return briefing, the team found the Ebens to be docile. Each team member quickly discarded these bottles of liquid nitrogen when they arrived on Serpo. The Ebens realized the team had the substance but never questioned the reason for bringing it. As with weapons, each team member had a handgun and rifle. The Ebens realized these were weapons but again never questioned why the team members were bringing them along. But each team member never carried the weapons except during their exploration of Serpo, and then only certain team members carried them. Posting 10 by Anonymous. Here is some beef that Gene Laskowski wanted regarding the team members' training. After the extensive selection process, each team member had to demonstrate their abilities to endure hardship, which included a battery of psychological tests, medical screenings, and a PAT, Positive Attitude Test, which is a military test given to pilots and Special Forces personnel. The training consisted of the following. 1. Introduction to Space Exploration, taught by NASA personnel. 2. Astronomy, identification of stars, use of telescopes, and general astrophysics. 3. Eben Anthropology, information received from EBE-1. 4. Eben History, basic information received from EBE-1. 5. U.S. Army Field Medical Training, Trauma Care. This was given to the non-medical personnel on the team. High Altitude Training, Parachute and Weightless Zero Oxygen Environment Training. 7. Survival, Escape, and Evasion Training. 8. Basic Weapons and Explosives Training. 6 pounds of C4, Composition 4 was taken. 9. Psychological Operations Training and Anti-Interrogation Preparation. 10. Small Unit Tactical Training, Mini 4-week U.S. Army Ranger Course. 11. Intelligence Gathering Course. 12. Space Geology, Collection Methods and Use of Specialized Geological Equipment. 13. Physical Stress Training. 14. Method to Cope with Confinement Isolation. 15. Nutrition Course. 16. Equipment Use Training. 17. Individual Specialty Training. 18. Basic Biology. 19. Other training which is still considered extremely highly classified even after 40 years, 1965 through 2005. Humans could make the Eben tonal sounds, but one had to practice and practice and practice. It took a long time for anyone studying the Eben language to make the sounds. Some of the sounds were similar to high-pitched singing sounds. The bottom line is that it could be done. Now, consider this. Even though each team member was taught the Eben tonal sound language, it was difficult for the team members to remember each tone and the use of other sounds with the tones. The two linguists on the team practiced and learned enough to basically communicate according to the documents I read. The Ebens learned English but had difficulty pronouncing words exactly correct. For example, according to the document, Ebens could not say the letter L, so if the Ebens were trying to say the word looky, it came out ook. Between the first message sent by our Earth-based team in the summer of 1952 to the first message received from the Ebens was about 4 months. We had no way of knowing when the Ebens received our messages, how long it took them to study it, and how long it took them to send it back. The signals were in Eben language, with the readout and sounds, tonal, etc. One interesting note, there was one Eben who was a space traveler who could speak English better than the other Ebens who had learned it. This Eben was codenamed Noah by our team. Every time the team had to communicate important information, they turned to Noah. But during the latter part of the team's stay, Noah left for an away mission. By then, our two linguists were able to communicate better than any other team member. Question: why didn't our team use the Eben communication device? Anonymous: they had it, but it contained only about 500 English words, not enough to fully communicate. The team discarded the device early in their stay. Who is Falcon? I am reading from the actual debriefing documents. There is no mention of a Falcon. There is no mention of a Falcon on the Briefing Control Access roster. If you're referring to the 1989 TV special UFOs Cover-Up Live, in which a falcon and a condor appeared in shadowed form, they never had access to the actual Project Serpo report. I would guess that whomever Falcon is was spreading disinformation. Ebens lived on a warm planet except the northern hemisphere, which was cooler. Some Ebens lived in the cooler climate, but the Ebens could not stand extreme cold. I think one is confusing what EBE-1 said about our planet. It liked the cooler places on our planet. He was not referring to Serpo. EBE-1 was a visitor on our planet and was taken to several different locations, mostly warm. When he arrived at Los Alamos, he remarked that he liked the cooler climate, meaning Los Alamos, in late summer. However, when he, EBE-1, was taken to Washington, D.C., very closely controlled, the climate there in late fall was too cold for him. I don't know about a Falcon or his information, but I do know the facts surrounding EBE-1. Question: what do you make of what EBE-1 allegedly said about mankind being genetically altered throughout time and that they established religions and Christ in particular on our planet? An idea that was popularized in the 1989 bestseller The Gods of Eden by William Branley. Anonymous: if one reads the Yellow Book, The True and Correct History of Mankind as relayed by the ETEs, it reads between the lines. One would come away with the thought and clear impression that the Ebens had something to do with Jesus Christ, or possibly Jesus was one of them. Also, if you look at some events that are shown in the Yellow Book, remember there are no dates shown in the Yellow Book. You can connect some incidents, such as Fatima, etc., with an Eben landing. Question: is the much ballyhooed and hyped alien autopsy film released by Ray Santilli real or fake? Anonymous: that film is fake. We did perform 4 autopsies on the 5 dead Ebens found in the Corona crash site and did photograph them. However, the bodies from the western New Mexico crash site were too decomposed to be autopsied, but the Ray Santilli film is an absolute 100% fake. The DIM was the Duty Information Manual. It was their Bible for all the information they could need. The operations plan, how to execute the plan, emergency action procedures, etc. BR. The meaning of the DIM was supplied by another person, not anonymous, who had detailed knowledge of the project. December clarification by Victor Martinez. Anonymous writes 85% of the material, another 13% comes from another source directly connected with the project, and the final 1 to 2% comes from a ghost who cancels his email account as soon as he sends his information. BR. This may explain some of the apparent stylistic and grammatical differences in the various postings. Note, I think BR is Bill Ryan. Posting 10A by Anonymous. Victor, yes, I did listen to the entire show. Never heard this guy George Norrie before, but he seemed to be a very open-minded narrator, and for that, me and my DIA colleagues were very pleased. The show caused a lot of buzzing in the halls of the DIA. Bill Ryan and Rick Doty both did an excellent job. I was hoping you, Victor Martinez, might just show up and add your own comments since you know more about me than anyone else as well as the program, but I guess that wasn't possible. I called Mr. Blank this morning, e.g. USG official who is managing the controlled release of Project Serpo for public consumption. I found some discrepancies about the animals mentioned on the show. The armadillo-like creature was not aggressive, it just scared the team members. The Eben guide directed some type of sound, very high pitch, at the armadillo creature, and that scared it away. These creatures were seen at several locations around the planet. Some were larger than others, but they were not aggressive. Only the snake-like creature was aggressive, which forced the team to kill one. The snake-like creatures were located in just one location, and the team never saw another one. As for birds, there were two types of flying creatures. One resembled a hawk and the other looked like a large flying squirrel. Neither were aggressive and the team could never catch one for examination. As for insects, they had small bugs similar to cockroaches but smaller. They were harmless but didn't get into the team's equipment. They had a hardened shell with a soft interior body. The team never observed any flying insects such as flies, wasps, etc. Several other small bugs were found and identified. I was hoping Rick Doty would expand his knowledge on the subject matter as he knows much more than what I heard him say. But maybe the show was scripted and he had to follow some script or was prevented from saying what he wanted to say by some director or producer. Note from Victor Martinez. The show was not scripted. Only time constraints prevented ex-AFOSI S.A. Doty from saying more on the air. Anonymous was corrected by me. All participants were called in at the last moment to fill in for a last-minute cancellation of another guest. Bill did a great job promoting the website, serpo.org, and the information contained therein. My next posting of information will be the actual journal entries of one team member. Each team member was required to keep a journal. I will provide a partial journal entry since the journals are attachments to the original report. They contain hundreds of pages of written entries. I will provide a few days or possibly a week's worth of entries from one team member. Also, we are working on obtaining 4 photographs taken by our team members of Serpo. I will scan them into my computer and then email them to you. You can send them to Bill Ryan for inclusion into the Serpo website. Don't distribute the photographs through your huge UFO thread list. Just leave it on the serpo.org website for website administrator Bill Ryan to post. Once the public sees these photographs, even our skeptics, diehard debunkers, and those who claim that this is all a non-event disclosure will scratch their heads in total amazement. They're not from a Hollywood movie set. One photograph shows the entire team standing next to an Eben home with several Ebens standing in the background. Another photograph shows the team's new home in the north. Another photograph shows an Eben village in the north. Another photograph shows a group of Ebens playing their soccer game. You'll love them. One group member has a foolproof way of sending them. I'm not sure the exact method, but I'll let you know just prior to sending them. Either way, they'll be sent to you or Bill directly in encrypted form, or a special military courier will bring them to you from a special unit within the DIA. We'll let you know. Listener, one question on the EBN's non-use of clocks and the use of a tower to tell the position of the sun. Much of the avionics, electronics, and machinery involves timing pulses. How do the EBEs even fly a spaceship or helicopter-type craft without the use of some sort of clock? Victor, what idiot wrote this? One must think in different terms of science, not Earth-based but Serpo-based science. Ebens were thousands and thousands of years more advanced than us. They had different forms of navigation systems, which I will discuss in great detail later. probably 2006. Enough for now. I must go back to bed. Keep up the great work. And that is the end of this video. If you like things like this, please give this video a thumbs up. Please share this video. And if you're new to the channel, please subscribe. I'll have more things like this. Take care.